Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja. Today we're going to talk about what are some signs that your crawl space foundation may be having issues or in trouble. We're going to go over some different parts of the home, the interior, the exterior, and even inside the crawl space and let you know some things to look for. Stay tuned. If you're new to Crawl Space Ninja, we talk about everything related to waterproofing, encapsulation, indoor air quality. We hope you'll subscribe to our channel. Ring that notifications bell, follow us on Facebook, check out our DIY store, and also our franchise opportunity. So if you have a home that has a crawl space, there are a lot of different issues that crawl spaces can bring about. There's moisture problems, there's pests, issues, and things like that. But one of the things that is difficult to determine is if the crawl space has a foundation issue. So we're going to look at, first of all, the exterior. What are some exterior things to look for, some signs on the exterior that you might be having a foundation problem in the crawl space? Now, I want to be clear about something. There are different foundation problems. There are the jacking up the footer, block wall foundation problems, and then there's also subfloor foundation problems where you need a sister joist or put in post jack. So we're going to kind of cover both of those today. So here are some exterior issues. Number one, if you've got a brick or a block foundation and you start to see stair-step cracks in those mortar joints, that may not be a sign of an actual foundation issue. That could just be a settling problem. But if you have a brick that's maybe split down the middle, or you see the block is split down the middle, or you have a lot of separation in that mortar joint, that is a clear sign that you got something going on that you might need to get somebody to check out for you. Some other issues on the outside is if you have a chimney that's pulling away from the house, that is obviously a sign that either the chimney is having an issue or you could have a foundation issue on the house yourself. So the house could be pulling from the chimney or the chimney be pulling from the house. If you have siding, you could notice cracks or bows in the siding. If your HVAC system sits on a pad and maybe it's tilted toward the foundation or it's sinking, those are obviously potential dirt issues or clay issues, which could also be contributing to a foundation issue inside the house. Some of the other things are like a sinking sidewalk or a cracked sidewalk or a cracked driveway. You start to see a lot of cracks in the driveway. Perhaps you got to fix the downspouts and get the water where it needs to go. Maybe that's all it is. Or those downspouts have washed away the soil and eroded all that soil up underneath that driveway and could potentially have affected the foundation walls too. So those are some of the outside issues that you need to take a look at. And if you have an outside issue that I didn't mention, please make sure you comment on that below. So some of the interior issues that we find and that many homeowners tell us about are obviously the bouncing and the squeaking flooring, right? So if you're walking in your house and you can hear your keys jiggling on the dining room table or the coffee table, then that might be an issue that you need some support up underneath that floor space versus maybe a block wall or a footer issue. It could be a floor support issue. Now, a couple things about bouncing floors is if you've got an older home, they didn't put as many pillars in those older houses as they do today, okay? So if you've done a recent remodel where you've changed the configuration of the interior walls, or perhaps you've added an island in the kitchen, or you brought in a piano or something like that that's real heavy that those older floor supports were not designed for, you could have some bouncing issues. And we even saw a lady who had a refrigerator on one side of her wall and had a piano on the other, and it literally cracked the beam that wall was sitting on because of all that weight concentrated in that one area. So if you start to notice your floors are bouncing or squeaking, those are some inside things that you can look for to see if you might have a foundation issue or a foundation problem. If you have an interior door or a door that is hard to close, it could be absorbing moisture, and that swelling could cause it to have difficulty closing, especially in the summertime, where in the wintertime it works properly. So that's not necessarily always a foundation issue. It could be a sign of a water or humidity issue. But if you start to see above the door jamb, maybe the drywall's cracking or the door is tilting off center, some other things to look for is where your baseboard, if you start to see the baseboard gap between it and your floor is starting to grow, that is another sign of an interior foundation problem as well. And just like the baseboard can separate from the floor, you can also have your crown molding separating from the ceiling. So those, any type of cracks in the ceiling or drywall or anything like that, make sure to keep an eye on that stuff. Now, again, there are settling cracks that can occur over time, but we're talking about things that you notice that are growing or shifting, or if doors are hard to close, or are warped or off tilt. You want to make sure you check out those things immediately. And the bouncing floor is one of the biggest things, especially the older homes. They didn't have enough supports underneath, and maybe you added an island in the kitchen as a remodel. You just put a lot of weight where maybe 20, 30 years ago, they didn't put as much pillars underneath. So that can cause a lot of bouncing inside the house too. So now inside the crawl space, one of the things that you need to make sure of is that if you have an active water problem, if you've got flooding coming through the foundation wall, or you've got a lot of water coming up from the soil, those can create foundation problems in the future. So if you want to prevent a potential foundation issue, make sure you address those flooding issues and get that water exited out of the crawl space as quickly as you can. But some of the other things that you can look for potential foundation issues is if you have a termite problem. Obviously, they can destroy the wood that they're feeding on. You've got wood rot fungus that can destroy the wood, and that messes up the subfloors and the joists and different things like that. But again, if you would fix that moisture issue and that flooding issue, you might not have those mold and termite problems to have to deal with as well. As I mentioned earlier, if you've got an older home, you want to make sure that the spacing between the pillars is good. And if your pillars are too far from the edge or the foundation of the wall, maybe put a line of support beams and some post jacks in there to support that floor, and that'll maybe get rid of that bouncing. But some other things to look for is your current pillars, where the joists are running along. If you've got a joint off to the right or the left of the pillar, so the joint isn't supported, and that joint will actually separate. So this side of the house will be, half an inch lower on that subfloor than this side of the house, because they didn't line that joint up properly with that pillar. So if you go in your crawl space and you see a joint that's not properly pillared underneath it, that would be a good thing to address. And you can fix that by putting in a post jack to kind of raise that little section up there if you need to. Some other signs that you can look for inside the crawl space is maybe if you've got a main girder beam going through and they took several 2x12s or 2x10s and they didn't lag bolt those together properly. A lot of times they'll just use, 8-penny or 16-penny nails to nail those things together. You can start to see the nails pulling out. And some other things, of course, as I mentioned, are high humidity issues and things like that. If you see a lot of critters inside of the crawl space, that could let you know that you have a moisture problem. So if I've missed anything and you found something in your crawl space or on the interior that I didn't talk about, we hope you'll comment below on how that is. And I'm Michael Church with Crawl Space Ninja. We hope you make it a happy and blessed day, and we'll see you later.